Greetings and welcome to Spin a Yarn Live, the Tea Time Book Club and Crafting Circle for certain crafting abilities. Don't just stick out your tongue. Today we're talking about Dresden Files number 7, Dead Beat.
Is it number 7?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I keep losing track of the numbers.
It all feels like one big long book.
It does, which is good, it's good.
So, interact with the stream by going to Reddit at r/spinayarnlive or Twitter at #YarnItAll. And let us know what you will be working on. And what are we working on?
I am working on a hat for my brother. This is the Celtic Cables slouchy hat, which you can find on Ravelry.com. It is a free pattern. As you can see, I'm doing it in kind of a Kelly bluish green. Bluish.
Yep.
But yes, I'm working on this. I finally finished the sweater for my friend, so it is downstairs getting blocked. Okay. Done. I thought I messed up for a second, but I didn't. It's cool. It's cool. I know what I'm doing.
Meanwhile, I'm working on this section of my project.
Oh, okay. I thought you were revealing like the whole thing. And
Nope.
I thought that was to be hidden.
Okay. Let's see. And the tea we're having was going to be the English caramel from the Peacock Tea Room at the Georgia Renaissance Festival.
But we can't find it.
However, I was holding on to it, and now we don't know where it is.
It's vanishified.
It's
so instead, we shall be having Twinings Oolong Tea. 100% pure oolong tea. Yes, it's amazing. Warm, toasty, citrusy. I don't know, there was something weird on it. I didn't know. But anywho, so that's going to be our tea for the day.
And we have one response from viewers. Mom is drinking fruit punch and finishing a Green Bay Packers hat. Apparently the helmet came out very well. Why are you making a Green Bay's Packer hat? We're not sports people.
We're not, yeah.
Anyway, so Dresden's Dead Beat, where we get butters.
But well, it's not the first time we get butters.
It's true.
It's not the first time we get, but it is pretty cool.
A commission.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, you must be getting paid pretty, but no. Anyways, yes. So we get butters. His initial growth from being or letting fear control him. I guess we didn't really see that much in the earlier books, though the way Thomas put it is that the only way Butters got back into working means he probably had to tell people that he was wrong about what he said. So I can buy that.
Yeah. Let's see. Hang on, I'm sorry. I'm trying to bring my pattern up. I usually look at it on my laptop, but I don't have my laptop. Okay, there we go. What row am I on?
Oh my goodness. The left row.
It's in the round, baby.
You think I don't know that?
3. Okay, I am pretty sure I am on round 23.
Oh, right.
1, 2, 3. Yeah. 24. Round 24. Okay. So yes, we have butters, and we have necromancy, and all sorts of fun things.
We get to see how how the war with the Red Court is going. Not well.
Yeah, not well. Oh yeah, there's an Maniacs quote in it, which I thought was kind of funny. I didn't write down the page number. I should have done. But Harry makes mention about how it's a big universe, and it's a big universe, and we're not. And that has to do with Yakko's world, or Yakko's universe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a great big universe, and we're all really puny. Just tiny little specks about the size of Mickey Rooney. Yeah, I know, it's rude, but it's from the 90s. What do you want? We get to meet Sheila. Isn't that interesting? And then you go through the whole book, and having read it the second time around, realizing that Sheila is, in fact, a hallucination of his.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I was like, oh, I kind of see what's going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's done well.
What'd she say?
She sent image of the...
Oh!
It's a little knitted...
Crochet.
Crocheted helmet. Interesting.
Fascinating. Another thing that we get to see a lot more of in this particular book is the mention of Murphy's father. Now, we've had the mention of her father before, and we know that he was basically SI before SI was a thing.
Yeah. Because
her mom is fully aware of what's going on. But we get even...
Karen does not know that her mom knows.
Right. I don't think she even knows that her dad knew about all of this.
Right.
But so we get, even more mention of him, which will be significant in some later books. So when we figure out the code that has to do with the book with the word of Kremler, I think.
Yeah. Kemmler. Yeah.
So they're talking about how it's, 16 digits or whatever and all this stuff. And it always got me thinking, like, the first time I read through this book, I thought, what if it's an ISBN number?
Yes.
Which, if you're not familiar with what an ISBN number is, look on the back of any paperback or open up. Sometimes the barcode is on the inside of a hardback slipcover, and sometimes it's on the back. But if you look at the barcode, and most paperbacks, like this one, actually says ISBN, but it gives the code number for the book. Now, what this does is, if you worked in a bookstore, as I did, you would have a scanner, and you could scan the barcode, and it would tell you exactly what section it would go in. For instance, if somebody looked at this and didn't know whether if it was fiction or literature versus science fiction or fantasy, they could scan it, and it would tell them, it belongs in the fantasy section. So,
Weird.
Well, like, because you get weird things, like stuff like, here was the weird one. We sold the series this is Barnes & Noble, by the way. We sell the series of, I say we, I don't work there anymore, but when I did, we had the series of Chronicles of Narnia, right? The individual books, because there's, like 5 books in the series, right? 5 or 6. The individual books are in the teen section. Teen literature. Fine, fair enough. That's where it goes. But the omnibus, the one book that had all of the books in it, was in regular sci-fi fantasy. Like in the, upstairs.
Really? It wasn't in Christian fic?
No.
Wow.
No, none of C.S. Lewis stuff was in, not none of. That particular series was not in it. A lot of his stuff was in Christian fiction, but not that particular series.
Interesting.
Really, really weird. Yeah, only, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and all that jazz, they were in teen fiction. The omnibus of that particular series was in regular science fiction and fantasy, like with Tolkien and all those guys. And then the rest of C.S. Lewis's stuff was indeed in Christian fiction. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
But so anyway... So
you couldn't just put it in both places?
I know. So, I thought that the number was an ISBN number. Like, that was my first thought.
Yeah.
Because I didn't remember. And then it's like, oh, GPS coordinates. And I'm like, that probably makes more sense.
That also makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since it's a smuggler and not,
And not a librarian, yeah.
If Sheila was not a demon and, she was the one making it, I could see that work.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
I could see that work. I thought it was interesting the way Lachille. I'm going to do that until Harry makes the nickname for her, which will come later. Then we can refer to it as the nickname. It's much easier. But yeah, I thought it was interesting how she basically served as his photographic memory. I thought that was pretty cool. And of course, at the end, when he reads the book, you know, he knows what he's doing. He's just like, okay, I'm not going to be able to memorize this, but she will.
Yep.
And it's kind of like we're entering into a kind of unknown. We're entering into murky waters right here, because at the end of the book, he does release her, as it was from the imaginary shackles.
Yeah, mental shackles.
And then we also get another look at his super ego or id.
His id, yeah.
Yeah, we get another look at his id, and he does make mention to the fact that his id looks an awful lot like a dark wizard,
mm-hmm.
and it's like, you know, looks an awful lot like a warlock, and it's interesting how we're seeing this, and it's just, you know, it gets tricky, because Harry always admits, even to himself, you know, and to the reader by proxy, you know, as we're reading it, that he knows that there is a darkness that is in him. He knows that he is very powerful. In fact, he knows he's really too powerful for being as young as he is, as inexperienced as he is, and as easy to fall to temptation as he is.
Yeah.
So he recognizes these faults in him, and now we see him maybe giving a little bit of ground, because
to temptation demon.
Yeah, to, you know, giving a little bit of ground to this, and it's
so. I don't know about you, and it's, but like, I don't know how long I would last against that particular temptation demon because of the intellect. I mean, because Harry uses Bob as well, and Bob is not like a good guy. He is when he's serving under Dresden.
Right, and again, we see it in this book. You know, he shifts hands, and even Dresden allows him to come out of his skull, and, you know, is like, I give you permission to, like, recall this until the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
And Bob almost kills him.
Yeah.
Just because, why not? You know, which kind of, where was Mouse when that happened? Was he being walked by Thomas or something? Because you would think Mouse would have run downstairs.
Which time?
When Bob was out and almost killed him. In the apartment.
Yeah, because he was downstairs. I don't know if Mouse could get to it, but...
closed the door or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Mouse is
another thing. I think Thomas took Mouse...
Took Mouse out for a little walk.
I think so.
So here's another thing. We get more with Mouse. Mouse is now grown, and... he's not fully grown. He
doesn't fit in a duster pocket anymore.
Yeah, he does not fit in the pocket anymore. And, you know, now we get to see that he's... We get a scene where he's just called the Lord of the Hunt, whoever he is. And,
the Earl King?
Yeah, we get the Earl King, and then... some of the necromancers find him and smack him over the head, and the girl goes inside, and, you know, we don't know that she's gone to go get Bob. You know, all Harry is concerned with is, you know, oh no, shit, she's going after Butters, maybe.
Yeah.
So, you know, he goes in, and Butters is fine, but he says, the way Butters says it, is that Mouse wanted to go outside, and he grabbed Mouse by the collar and pulled him into a closet. And then he goes and he's sick in the bathroom. And Harry kind of looks at Mouse, and he's like,
there's no way Butters...
There's no way Butters, who is like 5'5", and, you know, 110 pounds or whatever, he's a scrawny little guy, could possibly have moved Mouse, who... From the description we've gotten, he's basically like a foo dog. And if you don't know what a foo dog is, if you've ever seen, it's an Asian, mainly Chinese motif of the two dogs that flank a gate or an entryway or something, and they've got their hand the male has his hand on a ball, and if they're an actual set, the female will have her hand on a pup, on another food dog, essentially. And they're kind of this mix between a dog and a lion, almost. You know, they have a very lion-like muzzle and mane, almost, but they're very canine in the rest of their features. And that's kind of the way that Mouse is described. He's described as being very food dog-like and very large. So the idea of something that has a lion-esque, you know, ness to it, and Butters is able to move it, he's like, I don't think
even
so.
If you think about, like, a decently sized Labrador, is not, you know, as big as dogs get, but it gets hard to move a Labrador if a Labrador does not want to move.
Yeah, because it'll plant itself, you know.
And yeah, that's just kind of like a medium-large dog.
Right. So then we get the scene where, you know, Harry's looking at the dog and he's like, there's no way Butters pulled you into the closet. And we kind of figure out Mouse must have pulled Butters into the closet in order to hide and protect him. And you kind of get this realization of, like, we kind of had hints a little bit during the book, but at this point you're definitely kind of like, this is not a normal dog.
I mean, we also got some hints like that, especially now that we've read Deadbeat, and you go back and think about when we first get Mouse.
Yeah.
He has a lot of kind of intelligent moments as well, but in almost a Scrappy-Doo sort of way, except a less annoying version of that.
Yeah, because he doesn't talk and say puppy power. But
puppy power.
We don't need to go over that. So yeah, because he was always he was always growling or being aggressive towards any of the vampires, you know, which book was it? It was the one where we found out that Thomas is his brother. Yeah.
Wasn't that last book?
It was the last book. Well,
yeah, Skin Games?
No, Skin Games is the very last book. Skin Games is like number 15.
Oh. Title spoil.
Yeah. I've already said that Skin Games is like one of my favorites. It's a really good book. Oh dear.
Do I have it in here? No.
It's
There's
Blood Rights.
No way of
Blood Rights. It's Blood Rights. Because that's where we figure out that Harry has blood. I.e. Thomas. It's Blood Rights. So anyway, you know, now we get a very definite feeling of, yeah, this is not an ordinary dog. His intelligence level is way higher. His loyalty to Dresden is, you know, more than really you would think, especially for someone who now has one of the Denari,
right,
you know, in his possession and has done.
On the one side, that is good because at least Dresden does have some positive influences helping him out as well. So while he is getting a lot of power, in a there's a term for it, but when like shows like Dragon Ball Z keep having to up the ante.
His power level's over 9,000.
Yeah, that's at the beginning.
That means absolutely nothing.
Now power levels, the average power level in universe is something like 3.7 trillion or something.
I don't even know, because the little visors that tell them what power levels they are just kind of break.
Yeah, those are meaningless anyways. But, so, Dresden also, power creep is what it's called, as the average power level of the book or movie or show or whatnot creeps upwards to the point that you're like, if you look at the beginning, it's like, but he's getting his power from both dark and light, and it's kind of balancing itself out.
It's doing its darndest.
Not in a, you know, we can be happy that will always be good. It's like always tipping balance with him.
Right, he's always towing the line.
Which is, you know, adds the drama. But
it does.
But as I was saying...
Yes.
So about Lachelle... Mm-hmm. She does a really good... Or the shadow of her.
Right, because remember, this isn't fully her.
Yeah.
This is like... how do I describe? That's a weird analogy, but this is kind of a weird book, so we'll go with this. I don't know. I just saw something about Lucky Charms on Reddit.
Oh, yeah.
So this is sort of like... No, that analogy doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't work. I was going to say it's like having a bowl of Lucky Charms, but only having some of the charms on all of them. No, this is more like...
I don't know if there's good analogy. It's only a shadow of the demon.
Yeah, this is more like when you light a match or a candle in a room, and you have the light for the moment, but then you blow it out or whatever, and you're left with the smoke. You're left with the scent of, it was here, and I know that a chemical reaction took place. You know, kind of, if we want to just dive straight into the chemistry of it.
Which you do.
Yeah, or the idea of after a woman has left a room, her perfume lingers. Kind of that. You're not getting... I know I'm getting weird and poetic.
She's getting super weird.
Sort of weird here. But it's like, it's the shadow.
Are you turning into Dresden?
Oh. Yes, I'm turning into Dresden. Ooh, speaking of that... Oh, no, you haven't finished your point.
I haven't finished my point yet from like 20 minutes ago. But she does a really good job of seeming innocent.
Oh, yeah. Sheila is...
Sheila, in and of that self, you know, obviously we're expecting you've read the book, so spoilers, Sheila and the Shield are the same.
Yeah.
And if you've ever played with Pig Latin, you probably caught on. I did not catch on.
I didn't catch on until he just said it.
Really?
I didn't. Nope.
Because in the book, at one point, Dresden says, "Oh man, the name is practically the same as well."
Yeah.
But yeah, just move the L to the end, basically.
Yeah.
She or
right.
La Shield, La.
Yeah. No, you're right. I didn't think of it, but you're right.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it at all until it was revealed, and Dresden said, "Oh, your name's practically the same." And I'm like, "Is it?" And then yes, it was. And I'm like, "Well, I feel dumb now." But
it's okay. I'm clearly not all the way too.
But yeah, she does a very good job of seeming like she wants to help, seeming like she has her own life that she likes to preserve. We get a little bit of that in this book, and actually helping out, in theory, her theory, altruistically.
Yeah.
She doesn't really ask for much, but again, what Dresden says is absolutely correct, is she's probably just trying to...
She's playing the long con.
Yeah, super long con, which makes sense, but oh man, access to photographic memory, centuries of knowledge, somebody who's claiming that they're not going to take over you, a belief that you can actually control it and not go over a line. I don't know if I wouldn't.
I'll tell you straight up right now.
You wouldn't what?
Resist.
You wouldn't resist?
No, she made a jacuzzi appear in his mind, and it felt all kinds of real. Dude!
And she taught him how to basically ignore pain.
Right? I mean, that is temptation right there.
Like, I believe that I could do it to the point that I would never actually dig up the coin, but still fully utilize her.
Nope. Look, my hair.
I believe I could, but that's how she gets you.
That's how she gets you. And, I mean, Dresden, he makes the fair point, you know, just a little more, and then I'll find an excuse to dig up the coin, you know, all of this stuff. And it's every bit of it is true. But, luckily, on the other side of that, he has his brother, he has Mouse, he's got
Murphy, who's basically... I mean, we've seen Murphy with the sight, and she's not actually an angel, but she's basically a battle angel.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not battle angel Alita, that's different.
That's different. But, you know, yeah, we have seen her, but, like, you know, I think we saw her, like, last book as well, and she's damaged.
Right now she's damaged,
She's psychically damaged from some of the things that have happened to her, obviously. Because there was that, you know, demon that looked like Harry and then got in and, you know, literally got his fingers in her head. But so I do have a question.
Okay.
About where he lives. He lives in a board house.
Yeah.
Okay. What a board house means, as I'm sure everyone is aware, is that it is a house that is not a duplex, but it's actually split up usually in 3 sections. You've got the top floor, the main level, and then the basement and sub-basement. So Harry, of course, lives in the basement. He made mention because there were zombies attacking the house, trying to get to him. You know, he's like, we could lure them in and then burn the house down, but my neighbors might not appreciate that. I'm sitting here going, wait, if he has neighbors, do they notice these kind of odd things that tend to happen, like
I
when
don't-
a demon busted its way in and he and Susan were in a pickle, and then this horde of zombies come. Zombies! Okay? Zombies. We're talking The Walking Dead here. Okay? They come in and they're trying to attack
So
the house. And it's like,
the landlady, I think, who lives on either the top or main floor.
and she lives on the main floor, because I think a dude lives on the very top floor.
I don't know what book it is. I think we may have already passed it, but I'm not sure.
We haven't
But
passed it.
it's mentioned that Dresden will go out and shovel snow for them as well. So the landlady lets a lot of things
A lot of things
go.
slide.
But I also get the feeling that she's like very old and not really.
She is, but he's got. Well, okay. I guess that's later that we figure out the other
Something.
neighbors.
Mm.
They're okay, yeah. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, so no spoilers there.
Right. But yeah, it's just kind of like it was a horde of zombies.
And not just,
How
you know,
did
the
I not
people
notice?
living in there, but also any of the other buildings around. Because I'm assuming he's not just in a boarding house that's out in the middle of nowhere.
I don't know. Sometimes it sounds like that's what it is.
I know, it gets really weird. I don't get that feeling, and I don't think it's ever described this way, but I get that feeling with Mac's place, McAnally's.
Oh, McNally's.
When he talks about the parking lot and whatnot, I always get this sense of this like big, huge parking lot and, you know, the restaurant in the middle, but it's not. The bar, you actually go down steps and it's like Cheers, basically.
Yeah, you got to go down the stairs.
But I never have that mental image. It's described properly. I just never end up with that mental image.
Yeah. We also, so I said earlier there was an Animaniacs quote, which I thought was fun. There is also, if you believe it, a Disney quote. There's an Aladdin quote that he mixes around. So again, I should write down the page numbers. Well, the problem is that I read it on my Nook. The page numbers don't correspond to the printout. But anyway, he's talking about one of the necromancers, like getting all the power, you know, to be the greatest necromancer. Blah, blah, blah. And there's the Aladdin quote when it comes to Genie talking about who and what he is. He says it's all part and parcel of the whole Genie gig. Phenomenal cosmic powers, itty bitty living space. And Dresden says phenomenal cosmic powers and all the living space.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, is this fun? Like, so this is when, you know, with this book, like we said before, Blood Rights is kind of when you've got the whole backstory. Now we can get into the real story, the meat of what's going on, and we're going to get a lot of quotes, we're going to get a lot of references, and honestly, it's just going to become a more fun ride.
Does get more, definitely gets more fun. I don't know what's happened. I think, you know, just Jim Butcher improving over time. But yeah, there's a lot of just fun passages, and I didn't take any notes this time, so I don't remember any of them. I tried flipping through, finding some of them, and of course I failed. But I just got to this one where he's talking to Mavra, and, you know, she says if he gets her the word of Kemmler, she'll destroy the photo and it'll be fine.
She won't incriminate.
Something.
Karen.
And so he said, I'll stop you, I said, and if I don't, I'll come after you. If you hurt her, I'll kill you so hard your last 10 victims will make miraculous recoveries. And that's just a fun line.
It is a fun line. You're just like...
There's just a number of times that actually had me laugh out loud.
Yeah.
And not like a full laugh out loud, but, you know,
it makes you giggle.
Quiet guffaw.
A guffaw, yeah. It makes you giggle. So here's a question. This is before he realizes that Lachelle is actually in his mind, or the shadow of her is in his mind, and, you know, doing all these things. He has a dream with his father. He has a dream with Malcolm Dresden. So, and he helps. You know, he kind of helps him to calm down and helps him to figure all this stuff out. So here's my question. Because Malcolm makes mention to the fact that part of the wind is in his head, because they're, you know, in the middle of a clearing in the woods having some soup or hot chocolate or whatever, and there's something out there that's like jumping from tree to tree and being very ominous. And, you know, his dad kind of comforts him and helps him. But you're just sitting here going, now that we know that Lashiel is in his head and can make things appear, you're just like, now wait, so was that Malcolm? Or was that her?
Yeah.
Because...
Well, when was the first time we saw his id?
Back in the first book.
We did see it in the first book.
Yeah, we did. We saw it in the first book. Hang on, I've got...
Really?
Another fine myth, moon called Full... No, Full Moon is the second one. I have notes! Okay, Stormfront notes. Let's see.
No, I think it was the second one.
You know what? Info was maybe not. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's second one because that's when what's her face gives him the cloak, because we get a preview of him being in a very intimidating, oh boy, I've done something, intimidating cloak, or his id, and then he actually gets a cloak from Susan.
Well, he gets his big duster, yeah.
Yeah, big duster.
Okay.
Anyways, but that's before we got Lashiel, so the id is definitely not Lashiel.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that was always my thought too. Is anybody else who appears in Dresden's dreams, including his id, could in theory be Lashiel, because we know she can take on different appearances. So that's another thing. However, it is Halloween. There's a lot of turbulence in between the world and the undead.
Yeah.
Whatever. And we had a lot of that last book or the book before. The first time when we met Mortimer. But yeah, this one is a little bit more extreme, and now that he does have the demon in his head, that's opened up his mind a little bit. Yeah. I'm sure Lashiel is working in the background to weaken Dresden's mental blocks.
Right. We do see his id first in Stormfront, because we see him mention that he should ask Murphy out. I didn't write it down, but I remember that scene distinctly.
And you're sure that's not full? Wait, yeah, you sure that's not Full Moon?
I didn't write it down. I thought I had written down, oh, hey, we get to see his id now, you know, but I doesn't look like I did.
We'll figure it out at some point.
We'll figure it out.
However, so yeah, there's that. I honestly believe that was his father, because we've seen ghosts and whatnot be able to attack Dresden through his dreams. True. Especially when it's in near Halloween, when the fabric between the two planes have been
and we're in
merged.
Halloween now, and is this the first time we figure out that that's his birthday?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I think so. Like, I have it written here. I said, did we know before that the 31st is his birthday? You know,
I do not know.
And it says, I said, I can't remember. That's what I have written here, literally. I can't remember now. Yeah. But so, maybe, we've seen him converse with his mother once, because she left an imprint in Thomas. In both of them, because I think Thomas got to. Yeah, but Thomas was kind of able to hear.
Like,
what was going
there was
on.
two different conversations that they imprinted on each other. Mom says, I love that Thomas remembered that Halloween was his birthday. And it was in an earlier book. Okay. Yeah, no, that was really sweet of Thomas. He's
a good brother.
He
I mean, he's not the bestest brother.
He did say he was surprised that he remembered.
Yeah.
But he did remember. So that was super nice.
It's nice to have Thomas around. He kind of serves as an anchor. Although, of course, obviously, it makes for a lot of jokes because Butters thought that they were a couple. And he's like, I don't blame you. That guy's gorgeous. And Harry's just... And then Thomas plays it up.
Of course,
I love
because
it.
it's Thomas.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. Now, this isn't actually the first time... I mean, this is the first time, but it's not going to be the last time that they use that
Yeah.
to their advantage of how pretty Thomas is and how people wouldn't doubt that he's into dudes. He's not, but, you know, they wouldn't doubt. So it's not the first time that they're going to use that little thing to their advantage.
We bring up, do you have a few more points? 'Cause...
Well, another thing I have is we get some firsts in this one. For instance, this is the first time we meet the captain of the guard.
Yep.
Or the captain of the wardens, I guess.
Yeah.
Lucio.
Yep.
She's pretty cool. She'll make appearances later. I'd forgotten that the corpse taker, she does get this new body.
Yes.
I had forgotten about that. And I was like, alright, that's interesting. And then this is the first time we get a mention of the outsiders.
The word outsiders?
This is the first mention that we get kind of... I think this is the first time outsiders are mentioned.
See, now I need the other books to flip through while on live stream.
Right, yeah, no. And this is the first time we kind of get an idea of what they are.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is beyond demons.
Right. They're just sort of these chaotic beings that... Because demons are conniving and manipulating, and they'll, swindle their... do whatever to get their way. But they still have a place kind of in the Never Never. But beyond the Never Never is, I guess, the outside, which is where the outsiders come from.
And we don't like to go outside.
We don't like to go outside. No, so yeah, it's the idea that there are these beings that are so beyond demon, they're just chaos.
Almost eldritch.
Yeah. Like, they're just... You can't possibly even call them humanoid, although they have whatever shape they have. It's...
Yeah.
We'll have to wait until we get a description
wait till we get more. But yeah, so that was one first.
Cool.
What's another first?
Lucio was the other first. And then we do get the liver spots guy. I kind of pegged because he was, obviously obsessed with Dresden. It wasn't really hard to figure out that this is the guy that Harry, he had removed the coin when he, in, not Blood Rights, but the book before Blood Rights.
Yes.
Yeah.
Death masks.
Death masks. And when Harry, first touches the coin. But, so this is the guy that Michael and Sonia didn't beat the crap out of because they're good guys. But Harry, who blurs the line, takes a baseball bat, to his joints, essentially. And he was already an old man. So now he's coming back and he's, obsessed.
Getting revenge.
Yeah, he's obsessed with Harry and he's getting revenge. And there's, it's not graphic, the scene, but...
It's not, but it's intense.
It's intense.
Yeah.
And then Harry keeps wondering if maybe Michael will come and save him, even though he's terrified of the idea of Michael coming, because that's one of the reasons why he didn't call Michael in the first place, is he's terrified that Michael, who is trained to recognize the Denari, will see the mark, even though it's on his gloved hand, but will, recognize that, oh shit, he's come in contact with him.
Which, again, is part of the demon's fear getting into him, I feel.
I think you're right.
Because even Dresden knows at this point, because of liver spots, that the Knights of the Cross do everything they can to save the human from the demon.
Exactly. But not the demon.
No. So, there's still no real reason why Dresden couldn't still go to Michael and say, I have one of the coins, I'm keeping it safe. Or, whatever.
Or hand it over.
Because
he's talking to his id at the end, and it's just some part of me, I suspect, it's why didn't I just pick up the kid? Why didn't I just pick up little Harry? Why did I pick up the coin?
And I think the id basically admitted that he did want the coin. Because there is the darkness in Dresden. Yeah. So part of what Dresden is dealing with is a little bit of shame. I think this gets mentioned in a later book, so I'm not going to spoil it. But,
little face. Little kitty face.
Did you need more love?
Yes, please.
Whoa, boy. As I drop and break the china on live stream.
Let's not do that, because I'm not sure if I can find this china.
I know. Okay. So, my my big thing about this book is we have a number of character developments beyond just Dresden. And of course the big one, the obvious one, is Butters, which is a pretty good character. What, is he drooling?
Yes, now my ink is running.
Oh, Cyrus, stop being a dog.
But yes,
is of course
Butters.
Butters. He starts out being kind of ruled by fear, we're told, and we get to see a little bit more of.
Yeah.
He's still really smart.
Oh, he's great.
Which is done well.
Because that's the thing, is he was... I don't think he was, like, running the morgue or the coroner office or anything like that, but he was one of the top physicians.
Yeah.
And now he had to spend, whatever it was, like 90 days in a psych ward, essentially, because he wrote the report about when Harry burned down Bianca's mansion, and he's like, these bones could be described as humanoid, but not human. Because he's like, well, they've got fangs, they've got wings, you know, it's like, these are something else. I don't know what they are, but these are what they are. And, you know, he saw the facts.
Yeah.
He wrote down the facts. He didn't really think about how that was going to be perceived. But... So, you know, he got bumped down a couple pegs and everything, but they didn't actually want to lose him because, as you say, he's so incredibly intelligent. They still wanted him on the team. So now he's just sort of one of the lower level corner dudes but whenever something weird happens, you know, S.I. Murphy will always go
and I think,
about it.
Yeah, a lot of the weird ones end up being given to him now.
Which is kind of like, if you think he's going mad, maybe that's not the best idea. You know, it's like, I don't know if that seems to be...
Because I almost feel like the head coroner doesn't like him and would like to get rid of him.
Yeah.
But can't. Whereas, you know,
he's
like he's so good that...
He's so smart.
But yeah, so we actually see him use his brains. We get a lot of development where he's trying to become braver. You know, Polka will never die. That's Dresden said that to him, but Polka will never die.
Thomas is, I can't believe this is going on. He's like, shut
but Butters keeps trying to become better and better, and then eventually he gets to do things that he's good at. Research.
Yes.
And that really helps boost his confidence. And then, after he hides away from the Earl King...
Which who wouldn't? Let's be honest here.
Yeah, that...
Well, he doesn't hide away from the Earl King. He hides away from the necromancers who come to the circle and get all up in his business.
But that's when Dresden says that you get to call it a strategic retreat or something like that.
It's a strategic retreat.
And so there's all of that. So he's definitely grown a lot in this book and has more to come.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get any real character development with Thomas, but what we get is the continuation of where Thomas is at in his character development.
Right.
So it's not like we've just forgotten about Thomas's situation.
Because they have that race.
Yep, they have the race. He kind of explains to Dresden what that scene like. Where they're running on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
I love it for so many reasons. Not just because of this, but because Dresden is actually learning training how to run because he needs to do it a lot.
He needs to do it a lot. He says that. He does say that, I think. I don't remember if he says it in this book. In one of the books he says, you know, I turn and I run. And it's like, here's the thing, is I've started running, you know, both as exercise and as training, because I seem to do a lot of it. And of course, he has very long legs, which gives him an advantage. So if he has to run away from, say, a necromantic, crazy person who also happens to have a ghoul chasing him.
As long as he doesn't have a shuriken in his calf.
As long as he doesn't have a shuriken in his calf. It's poor guy. Ooh! And we get Marcone.
Mm-hmm.
Was that this one?
Yeah, we get Marcone in this book, and this is after we've learned what Marcone... Yes.
This is after we learned when he stole the shroud.
Sabio died. He stole the shroud to try and help cure someone who got...
we don't know why.
We do. It was at the end of that book.
What was it?
Because Dresden tailed him. saw what was going on.
He saw that he was healing the girl. We don't know who the girl is or why he wants to heal her yet.
I see. Don't pay attention to me. Spoilers.
So, yeah. So, we don't know why he wants to
But
heal
there's
her
some
yet.
reason that he's being turned. So, it's... humanized Marcone in a... way. And in this book, we don't really get more development with Marcone, but we definitely see him utilizing power. He has Miss Guard on his staff from Monarch Securities, which we will talk about later.
We will talk about later. That's what I got excited about, because I was like, ooh, and then I go, no, wait, nope. We don't know that.
We don't know what's going on with her yet.
We know she's not human.
Yep. And she has magic power.
Yeah.
And Marcone is using that.
But she doesn't work for him.
No.
She works for the security company. She's
basically a contractor.
Yeah, she works for the security company, and yeah, he pays the company, and he pays the person.
Yeah. So right now, Marcone is building his power base, and let's be fair, it's probably kind of smart because the type of powers that have been going against Dresden have been increasing recently, and you know, you wonder why all these things take place in Chicago, when it's like, surely there's other places you could do this. Yeah. But there's a lot of things happening in Chicago, so now Marcone is building that up. Mm-hmm. And as Mom mentioned, we also get some backstory to Morgan. Not really not backstory, but some insight of how he thinks, how he sees...
Oh, yeah.
People, and how he's basically just a cop, and you know, a cop that's been
on the
doing
beat
it
too long.
for 200 years, and even human cops sometimes get burned out after.
Right, and they start to see things in kind of a black and white situation.
So now Dresden
can't understands it.
Hate Morgan as much as he wants to.
He can't hate him, but he understands him, and of course, Dresden is now a warden.
Dresden is a warden.
This is officially, White Council official and all that jazz.
Yep.
This is his territory. He calls the shots. He gets to determine what happens. Like, it's so funny because he said the captain is explaining all these things, and he looks at her and he's like, so I basically get to do the exact same thing that I've been doing. And she's like, yes, now you get to do it wearing a gray cloak.
Yeah.
And he's like, but the advantage is, he now gets paid for it. Yay!
Not a lot.
Not a lot. But he gets
some.
Now he gets a salary, and it's really nice. It's like, oh, this is good because he's one of the good guys, and that's one of the reasons they said, like he said or somebody else said, that that's why he lives the way he does. Because if he allows himself too many luxuries by using magic or by using something else, it could corrupt him too much, essentially. And because he knows he has too much power. He knows he has all these abilities.
And he has I don't know, it's been mentioned a couple times. It'll get mentioned more clearer later. But he has a lot of power. Like, more than normal amount of power, even for people on the council.
Yeah, he does. Like, not just his magical abilities, which are impressive. I mean, they've already talked about how, Margaret Le Fay was, she had her hands in all sorts of things, and she was already a very powerful wizard in of herself. So, Le Fay of the Fae. She spoke to the Fae a lot. We already know that she had a dalliance with vampires of the White Court. All this stuff.
Dalliance that she got the better of.
She did.
Which, if you think about the White Court, that's impressive.
That is impressive. So, and she actually even got away from it and everything. But when you think about Harry's one of those guys, he's a gumshoe. He's a detective. And in order to do that, you need to be able to get in the good graces of people so that they'll give you information. As a result, he's in the good graces of some of the Fae. Lesser Fae, because Toot Toot is kind of his buddy, but he's also had dealings with Mab, and Mab is technically not his godmother now.
But taking on the responsibilities that his godmother had.
He goes to call on Lan Chi, and he can't, because
she's being detained.
She's being detained because maybe she might have done something that upset the Queen, Mab.
She overstepped her bounds.
Maybe overstepped her bounds a little bit. And we will get more of that later. But
we also
Mab
learn
comes.
During that, from Mab, we also learned that the White Night is still alive.
Oh yes,
and
the
has
Winter
not
Night.
been replaced.
Yeah, because she
asks, Winter Night, not White Night.
She asks him again. She's like, "Are you sure you don't want to be my knight? You know."
And he realizes that she's basically probably torturing him.
Yeah.
Until Harry comes in, which, yeah, there's some issues there.
I think it's on the screen.
Oh.
Sorry, there are like these lines.
Oh, there are some lines.
But I think it's on the screen and not.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway.
My screen's dirty. Yay.
But so anyway, and then, and yeah, and she says, you know, it tells him all of that. But yeah, essentially saying that she is going to perform the duties of his godmother because because she's the reason that she can't get to him.
Right.
So because it's her responsibility, she has to take responsibility for it and give her the information.
Which is again one of those interesting things about
the
Fae and promises and whatnot. I don't think even the Mercyverse Fae have run into that situation yet, where one takes on the responsibility of another one that they're detaining. Because the Fae can't really be detained. But but yeah, and here we get that. I really like that dynamic. It's like she's super powerful, but she's still kind of bound by the promises of her underlings,
which is important. But so he's got his hands in with them. His brother is a White Court vampire. Now, he's technically been cut off from it, but as he states, because he calls his sister to get some information, you know, she's the head of the White Court now, and just because he's been totally cut off doesn't mean his sister doesn't still care for him. So she gives him the information, you know, she gives him what she can, because, well, he's her little brother, and she still wants to take care of him in whatever little way she can.
Yeah, and it just has to be on the political side.
Yeah, it has to.
There's
right,
because there's a lot going on.
So he's got that, you know, he's got it kind of in with the White Court a little bit, and then obviously the White Council. He's a warden now, and he's got a fallen angel who, for the moment, is being sedate and doing what he asks. And she can play the long con, you know.
Yeah, you mentioned Thomas's sister...
Laura.
That's another one, like, I feel like I would be less tempted by Laura, but she's a powerful ally. Like, if I was in Dresden's shoes, being super careful, she's another one that's like, that's a good ally.
It's a good ally.
It's a bad ally, but, you know... It's like having a nuclear bomb as an ally.
Right.
But it's a good ally.
Yeah. And then also, obviously, he has an in with the police force because of Murphy.
Yeah.
And he even he and Kincaid, they get along. Ivy likes his cat.
Oh, yeah. You know? Ivy, the archive,
loves
him because he gave her a name.
He did. He gave her a name, and he lets her pet his cat, and, like, you know, it's... Yeah. So
He's got a lot of powerful
friends. Allies, which...
Well, yeah, allies.
It kind of... Because, like... Allies. But, like...
Resources.
It's kind of like Mercy Thompson. In one of the Mercy Thompson books, she gets targeted because she's the most powerful being in the area. But what that basically means is that she has a lot of friends who are actually legit powerful. And they would be rather upset if anything happened to her.
And a lot of them would put their lives on the line for
and maybe even start a war, and maybe even pretend to be somebody else and go to get her back, and that's a very fun book. But
anyways, no spoilers. We'll get to those books at some point.
We'll get to those books.
But
so one thing I will say before we get too much on topic of how powerful and how he kind of even fears his own power is that, you know, I've criticized him in the past for not opening up and, like, talking to anybody.
Yeah.
I will give him credit. In this book, because Billy and Georgia insist, he does tell them about the...
He also tells Sheila... Now, at this point, we think Sheila is just a normal, low-powered person, but who insists on having responsibility. for what she's giving out.
Right.
And he respects that, and unlike in the past, he does actually tell her.
True.
True.
He's learning to open up more. Now, is that because of Lachelle influencing him?
At this point, especially in the books, in these books, it's hard to tell what's him and what's Lachelle.
Mm-hmm.
But now that he knows Lachelle is in there, I'm willing to attribute a lot of it to just his own personal growth.
I would hope so.
Now, I'm sure there's influence, but there's also just influence of, Murphy was able to learn everything, and now she's being targeted by evil magic, but Murphy was willing to accept that risk and go into this world with him, and he's realized that he doesn't have to be the sole source of information. When he does, people get killed. Like, I think her name was Kim in Full Moon. The girl who was originally trying to help the
she wanted help to try to contain the world.
And he refused to give her information, and because of that, she died.
Yeah. Exactly. So, he needs to grow more as a person. It's great that he opened up to Billy and Georgia.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. Like, they couldn't really do anything, but at least he was able to talk about it with somebody.
Yeah, because he told them that he has a demon in his head.
Yeah. He said,
that's a big one.
Yeah, he said, last year or whatever, I was exposed to a demonic force, and I think it's in me, and I think it's influencing me. Because Billy is the one who brought up how people keep saying you're talking to things. The idea of he's talking to Sheila, but she does not actually there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she is in his brain, but, obviously it's not the same thing.
But
yeah, so we've completely glossed over the fun part, which is Sue.
I was still doing. Is there any other character development things? I wanted to talk about Ramirez for a second.
Oh yeah, Ramirez.
Ramirez was fun.
Oh, Ramirez.
He's
one of the younger wardens. There's only 6 wardens left. That kind of sucks. But Ramirez is he'll come back.
He has that stereotype of, I'm the sexiest one around.
I'm just amazing.
But the way it's written, it's very clear that he's putting on airs, kind of.
He's putting on
a show.
Like,
he still has a bit of that, but he's playing it up. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek when he does it.
It is.
So even though, it is a stereotype, the character is putting that stereotype out there.
He's pretty enough that
Yeah.
This doesn't have to do with Ramirez, but when Harry's trying to convince Butters that everything's going to be okay.
Oh.
Because Thomas is too pretty to die, I'm too stubborn to die, and Polka will never die. Oh, it's a great scene.
Oh, it's so good. So Ramirez, we don't get much. We get some
a little.
Backdated character development, because Ramirez was one of the apprentices, or whatever they're called.
Apprentices.
When
the brown clothes.
McCoy ended up joining the
council. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is when
the Elder Council, or whatever it's called.
I can't remember which book it is specifically, but this is when they go to the meeting and Harry's trying to speak Latin and it's just not working.
And he's wearing a bathrobe.
It's just not working at all.
It's not good. But we kind of get some of the new guard of the White Council. Yeah.
Well, the new guard, what's left?
Well, what I'm saying is the younger members look up to Harry.
Right, because he's kind of a rebel. He's kind of he's powerful and respected, but he's also very tongue-in-cheek.
We have the Vader syndrome, where somebody you're afraid of joins your side, and now they're super cool.
Oh, yes, they did say that.
So that's Ramirez. We don't get much with Lucio. Morgan, we got that little bit.
Morgan.
Who else is in this book?
Well, we learn more about Bob, and a
little bit about Bob.
What he is, what he's capable of.
How he's not the most innocent of all things, but he is when he's working for Harry. So
that's good.
Questions.
Yeah. I mean, he's a bit of he's pervy, but it's just Bob.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's. I mean, we get Murphy going on a date with Kincaid, but we don't.
Well, she goes to Hawaii with him.
A big date.
And she comes back a little battered, and it's like...
Yeah, she has to because Dresden's all...
Dresden's in a cast, and all this shit's happened to him. And she's like, what happened? He's like,
Chicago got interesting for a while there.
Yeah.
And then he looks at her cast and like, what happened in Hawaii? Oh, Hawaii got interesting for a while.
Yeah,
and they just laugh without swapping stories. So good. Okay, so... Yeah, that's the primary character development. Let's jump over to Sue.
So, we get necromancy in this particular book. And that's always fun and interesting. We're at the hour mark already. That's always fun and interesting. This is going to go all over.
We've been hyping this book for so long, it's okay if it goes over.
So he's trying to figure out what exactly he could possibly do. They need to get into this inner circle here in order to attack the necromancers. But they can't. They can't get in it without any sort of necromantic... power so that they can break through the barrier and get through it. So Harry is thinking about it and he goes, aha, loophole. Because necromancy is technically forbidden, which is interesting because we were talking about Sabrielle and the way her necromancy is different because she's the abhorrent.
Right.
But this necromancy is, dirty and foul and blah, blah, blah.
Well, the White Council doesn't believe that there's such a thing as a good use of necromancy.
Right.
Whether that's true or not in this universe, we don't know yet.
True.
But yeah, a lot of these laws come down to the White Council just...
being old-fashioned, if you were.
Being, yeah.
I mean, they're centuries old.
Stick mods. Yeah.
But, in any case, so Harry is like, okay, I got it. And he looks at Sue, and it's just like, alright, this is perfect, because Butters has the drums. Butters can be the drummer, because he's got his polka thingy, so he can do the little march and bang the drum, and it's got to be a big drum, because, well, Sue's kind of big.
You know what I didn't think about?
What?
So, if you watch Jurassic Park, there's certain types of music that you expect to hear when a T-Rex is chasing the truck. You expect to hear the Jurassic Park music. But, certain type. Sue charging down the road is being accompanied by polka. I just want to put that out there. We're having a charging T-Rex accompanied by polka.
He's not actually playing all the instruments, he's just playing the drum. But
does he not add little flourishes, though? It's Butters.
But anyway, so we get Sue. We get a huge Tyrannosaurus Rex, all zombified, running down the streets of Chicago, trying to get to the university in order for them to fight off the necromancers and, like, get into it so that they can do... And, like, the wardens are just like... What? And Harry's like, it's not a human. It's dinosaur. I'm totally within...
And then he also...
there's like...
talks about how you need the necromantic field around you to get in.
Right, you need to be able to do this, and like this is the best option because she's really old and she serves her purpose wonderfully, and the imagery is just fabulous of her stepping on all the Confederate soldiers and all that stuff, and it's just...
And then she stops kind of following directions because she kind of gets into a bloodlust.
She gets a little bit into a bloodlust.
Which is kind of weird. In theory, and of course nobody knows. But I see, like, especially the predator dinosaurs being a lot more like predator animals now, give or take. And the idea of a bloodlust and just kind of going blind and killing everything, while it's really cool, I'm not sure how realistic it is. I'm questioning the realism of a necromantic T-Rex in Chicago. But... No, it's a really cool scene.
It's an awesome scene.
I do love that idea of her getting caught up in bloodlust, and then Harry basically has to say, oh, what about that zombie over there? He looks tasty.
Yeah, it's just like, why don't you just pay attention to that? There you go. You know, and then, because he does almost get knocked unconscious, so he really does lose pretty much complete control over her. But then he's able to, get back in with Bob. You know, because the necromancer leaves Bob on the ground, and Bob kind of winks at Harry, so you're like, aha! And so he lets him out to take control of Sue, and they're just like,
That's
much
so good.
Fun!
Bob, because early in the book, Dresden orders Bob to never think about, his time with Kemmler again. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of an order from an owner. Now, how that changes when the owner changes, I don't know. Like, are restrictions of past owner, whatever. But Bob, seemingly in this instant, is actually just playing. He puts on his blue flames and pretends to be evil Bob, but then does that orange wink to Harry, and I feel like he's good and just pretending to be
at that point when
Bob.
The necromancer puts him down.
Yeah,
because
true.
Because he says, whoever's hands I'm in, but the moment he puts him down and nobody is touching him, he seems to default to Harry. Yeah. As long as Harry's close enough.
Now, Harry has been his owner for longer than Cole had.
Right.
Wait, what's his name?
Cowell, yeah.
Cole. Longer than Chandler has. Necromancer Chandler. But yes, Cowell. No, because when I said Cole, I pictured like a preppy guy rather than like a necromancer.
So you pictured Chandler?
And then, I went to push it further and said Chandler from Friends.
Ross is far more preppy.
Yeah, but Chandler's more funny.
Joey is funny.
Joey's the best.
Joey's hilarious.
Anyways,
I never really watched Friends.
So we have this situation, again, character development for Butters, where he wants to be the drummer. He's afraid, but he wants to be the drummer. And they get over, things are going down, there's fighting happening. Harry can't get over to protect Butters, who is on the ground, still drumming, on the ground. And we find out that Butters is drawing himself a magic circle because he learned about it before. He bit
down on his own finger and did it. Yeah.
He learned about it before, and he had the presence of mind, even though he's being ruled by fear earlier and unable to think, this time he's able to think, put together that circle that blocks out magic.
Yeah, so the zombies and the
which
spirits
brings
can't
the
get
question of, is the drum beat magic? But I mean, I'm assuming no, the drum beat must be just the sound, and the sound is what the wizard used to tie to the zombies. So as long as, because I saw that, I was like, well, he just circled himself off, won't that free Sue? But no.
No, as long as she can hear
Luckily, that was no. That could have been either way, depending on how you design your magic system.
True. But no, everything was fine. He was able to maintain the drumming and maintain control.
And just stay in the circle for the whole fight.
Stay in the circle. Which is important, but, because he doesn't know much about the fighting. He only just sort of figured all this out because Harry had to kind of explain it to him. And, of course, he was disbelieving. The guy's a scientist. Yeah. That's what he studies. He studies the facts, and it's just kind of like, really?
And, but he did get to talk to Bob a lot.
He did get to talk to Bob.
So we don't know what Butters learned during all that. But I'm willing to bet, even though Bob makes fun of Butters at the beginning,
he does.
We don't actually see Bob and Butters interact after that. I'm willing to bet that Bob respects Butters' intellect, because it's clear that Butters is smart.
Yes. And, of course, Bob is a
probably smarter than Harry. So, anyways, that's just something to keep an eye on. And, silence.
But, so, yeah. It was a lot of fun. Love Sue. She's not there for very long, but still pretty awesome sauce. Lachille will be more prevalent going forward, and that's going to make for some very interesting situations. What'd you lose, baby?
My little note card with the Bechdel Wallace test.
No,
it's right here. I got it. I set it aside.
My note about how Harry does have too much power, and he knows it, and things are going to get a little bit rough from here on in. And then just my note about him talking to Billy and Georgia, which is important because it's important that Harry not go insane at this point in time. That would be bad. And
that he doesn't go dark, and having good friends. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to include Thomas in that because he's generally mostly morally good. To the point that he's not just going out and feeding on people.
He's not. I mean,
he's starving himself.
He lures them in. Well, he doesn't really mean to. Because
it's accidental.
There was that one thing where he was just wearing jeans. That's it. He's just wearing jeans. He didn't have a shirt on or anything. And he opens the door to this woman, like, handing out... Not a Jehovah's Witness, but she was handing out, like, packets for worship or whatever. And apparently she accosted him. Like, he opens the door and she just jumped on him. Like, ah! Because, you know, he's hot. But yeah, it's getting harder for him to control, and he can't really fight as well as he used to because he was beating on Justine every day. You know, he had plenty to draw from, and now, you know, right, like you said, he's basically starving himself, and it's getting rough.
We have different page numbers. Mom says that
she has the same paperback.
At one point, Butters turned the drums over to Morgan and did medical stuff.
Oh, did he?
Though that might be... Yeah, that's probably a little later. Because it did say he was on the ground as zombies was approaching him and he was still drumming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's afterwards. Maybe she meant 481.
Exciting! Flipping through.
Flipping through pages.
Oh, Cyrus, you sneezed. But so at any rate, yeah, Butters definitely grows as a character in this one. And we get Harry, you know, at the end, he gives the book to Mavra, and, you know, he basically threatens her, you know, saying, if you ever, you know, try to do this to my friends again, you found it.
Okay, so, first of all, yeah, on page 470, that's when Butters was on ground. I spotted the little guy 5 yards away on his hands and knees on the crosswalk, his legs still kicking wildly to keep the drum going, and then that's when he draws the circle around himself. But then after the thing with Captain Lucio, then he apparently gives the drums to Morgan and helps do medical stuff on Lucio, which is another character point I wanted to bring up about Butters, is he became a coroner because he couldn't really deal with working on living people.
Right, too much blood, too
weird.
Much, yeah.
It's weird. But he's helped Dresden, he helped Lucio, and he's grown a lot, even though it was originally uncomfortable. And that's one of his, with character development, you have wants versus needs. I don't really know what Butters wanted besides just to, you know, keep his head down for the most part, be able to do his job and play polka, that's about it. And then his need, which usually he wouldn't need this, but his need was to become more courageous and be able to work on living people, and that's he kind of got pushed into it. So he had a full character arc,
which is important because he's kind of the only one that Harry can go to now for medical assistance, because he found out something rather interesting. He found out, he thinks he knows why wizards live so long, because apparently they have super healing abilities. Because Harry, you know, they were talking about his left hand, saying how probably just amputate it. And just out of pure stubbornness, he's like, I don't want to. But slowly, he's able to get feeling back. He's able to move. And Butters even purchases a guitar for him. And he says, this is for therapy. I want you to learn to play the guitar. This is perfect for your hand. And you know, we'll see later that it does work. I mean, spoiler alert, his hand does heal. And it's, you know, it's kind of like, it's because he's a wizard that it does that. He just says wizards apparently have super healing powers, which is why they live for centuries. And Butters thinks that's very interesting, because he was looking at his x-rays and he was like, what? It's like the fracture isn't there.
Okay, so let's talk tests. This one has done a lot better than past Dresden Files. The Bechdel-Wallace test.
Trying to think of when we actually had two females in the room.
Again, we really don't have a lot of females in this.
Which is hilarious, because the three most powerful people that he has contacted, Mab, his godmother, and now Leah the demon. They're all female.
Which has its own problems.
True.
When your guy writing it makes it very easy to, like, put women as the biggest powers, but then that causes its own problems, like that whole, they're not humans, they're up on a pedestal. And I fall into this, from time to time. Sometimes, like, running tabletop games for you and the Skag Girls, I made, I noticed I was making a lot of the more interesting characters women. I was like, wait a minute, I'm doing something wrong there, and then I kind of dialed it back. I don't think any of you even noticed that.
No, probably not. But, like, because it's the same thing, because Karen Murphy is the head of SI, and... Yeah, we've got Matt, and we've got the warden.
We almost had Sheila, if she wasn't actually a demon.
Yeah.
That was a really well-written character, I feel. Like, if we got to the end of the book and Sheila was just a regular mortal, that would have been a very well-written character. Mm-hmm. In my opinion. One thing we do have, and this goes... Well, that's a later one. Yeah, we don't really have...
We don't really have a situation where two women are speaking.
I mean, we have a situation... Well, no, we can't even say that, because Corpse Taker was originally male, and he just switches to whatever body, and Dresden has started using the male pronoun for him because he doesn't, like, assume the identity of that. I don't think we see Komori and Lucia talk. So, does this one actually fail?
I think it does, because we never get a situation where there are just two women talking. We've got plenty of women in there, but they're all either talking to Dresden or they're talking to the other wardens.
And it's usually only like one male or one female. There is one female I'm going to bring up on one of these later tests, so hold on to that thought if you're thinking of her. But I think this fails. But again, we are starting to have a lot more women characters who are actually characters.
Yeah,
and I will say this for Dresden Files and for Jim Butcher, even when we had like super powerful women as the only women, like Mab, they still had their own character.
They did. Like Mab and Mauve are not carbon copies of each other. Even though one's the Winter Lady or the Winter,
And then the Summer Queen.
Titania is
definitely very different from...
She's very different from
So even though they are super powerful, they do have a lot of things. So, that's one of those... technically fails. We don't want to add a lot of giving things passes. Like, we give a lot of old books passes for a lot of these because the times, it's like, were you trying to be better than the rest? But,
Because even... I was reading Harry Potter. And, there was a scene where, this is in the third book, near the beginning, when the Weasleys are in Diagon Alley with Harry after he's run off. And Hermione, Ginny, and Mrs. Weasley are all in the corner talking, but what they're talking about is they're talking about a love potion that Mrs. Weasley did as a child, and they were all giggly and everything, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
And that's written by a woman!
I know. I mean, that's how pervasive it is. And that's why we're starting to mention all these tests every time as well, because...
Speaking of which, this is the first time that I've read the Harry Potter series again after we started doing all of this, and I'm like looking at it going, you know what? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. If we do, and I feel like we will at some point, but if we do Harry Potter on this channel, we're going to kind of rip into it. We love it.
I love Harry Potter, you guys.
And it's like, the Carlin brothers, just an episode, I forget about what. Oh, the most expensive Harry Potter book. Like, some of the first editions get sold for lots of money, and there's other ones.
Yeah.
And, whichever brother it is mentioned that they don't even go into thinking too hard about the Harry Potter universe. Because you can't.
That it's bad. It's just some things don't... makes sense.
Yeah, you have to just not think about the world too hard and just think about the story. But
But anyway, so what about some of the other tests?
Okay. the Mikamori test, a female, has a narrative arc that's not about the male's arc, and I will say the Shield does. So, or the Shield's shade does, because, you know, obviously her want in the long run, most likely, is to overtake Dresden. Or not. I mean, we don't really know for sure right now, because she did mention that she prefers the partnership as opposed to domination.
But
which
again, she's the
could
temptress.
very well be true.
Could be.
That's one of those that's like, we need to go to Michael to ask about the history of, you know,
Could
what
be,
Lashiel has been like in
suspicious.
other... Yeah, well, yeah, not now.
Now,
so that's what those...
We do have liver spots. I can't remember the actual name. We do have that guy who used to have the snake dude. Used to have that coin. He did say that Lashiel is one he perceives as one of the weaker of the fallen angels. So that might be a little bit of a hint that maybe that's true. Maybe she does prefer the partnership, and others would see that as a weakness.
Right. Yeah, you're serving a mortal. Yeah, that definitely feels weakness. Whereas, you know, that whole partnership, you know, the whole idea of partnership, it's like why people get married. It makes you stronger.
Yeah.
2 people now have the strength of 10.
My strength is as the strength of 10 because my heart is pure.
Yeah.
Always found pure to be very relative.
Okay. As time goes by, reference for any
comparative term is what she says, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, comparative.
But we get Lashiel try to make Sheila a thing, and it starts to work, and she's getting there, and then Harry decides to use Hellfire. So now she comes to him in his dream kind of as her regular self, which now she's playing 2 different angles, which I think she pushed herself a little far on that one. I think if she stayed silent, it would have worked a lot better, but mistakes were made. And then she gets found out by Butters coming up, interrupting them, and...
It's Butters' fault.
It's Butters' fault. And now that whole idea of Sheila has failed. And I'm not going to say it's like full-on character development, but there's an arc with her. You know, she has a want, she goes for it, it fails. And in the long run, there is a full arc with her. And we won't talk about that until we finish that full run. And it is a really good one in my opinion. But we'll talk about that much later. So we have that other female characters. Lucio really didn't have an arc at all.
She's already developed.
Existed.
She's
she
like
had to change at the end, but that we didn't get to see what that led to. So that's the beginning of hers. Murphy...
Well, she's not really in this.
She wasn't a narrative arc. It was outside the narrative arc. Things happened. Hawaii got interesting. We don't know what happened. Are there any other females?
Well, the sister, I guess, Cal's sister or lover. I don't know.
Oh, the Komori?
Yeah, Komori, the other necromancer.
Yeah, we don't get an arc with her.
Yeah, no.
We get some of her inner workings, because she believes she's trying to conquer death, which, noble goal. Just don't kill people to do it, maybe?
Well, she didn't. I mean, she brought that one guy back to life.
Whereas she's teamed up with Cowl, who definitely does not care about killing people. So that's it. So I would give that a pass because Sheila, even if you want, you may have to read more books and then come back and see it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, as we're reading, I'm not entirely certain if I agree that her development is unrelated to Harry's. I don't know if it makes the cut. But we'll examine it as it gets more.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I think the test is more a female having a character arc solely so that it advances a male's character arc.
Yeah, I think that fails the test, doesn't it? Because it's pushing him up. She's not her own individual person because is directly affecting him. I thought that's what the test was.
We'll look at that later.
Okay.
Vito Russo test, identifiably LGBT, who could not be removed without hurting the plot. I don't think there is one. Nobody identifiable.
Yeah, because...
We get mention of, Dresden and Thomas possibly being gay, but that's not really...
I mean, that's just kind of funny because they're brothers, which would make it even,
It's really weird because they're brothers.
Right, because they're brothers. But it's like, I mean, I don't know. Thomas is so pretty. I refuse to believe that he's never been a dude. Like, I'm sorry.
But it's not identifiable, so that fails.
It's not identifiable.
The Degum Shukla test. I need to rewrite these.
Because you obviously can't read them very well.
No. Two non-white people talking to each other about something that doesn't bring up race. And also the additional one, those where there's two non-white people who are not in a relationship and not magic. We don't get that. What we do get is the wardens. We have Ramirez.
Who's Mexican.
And we have Yoshino, or whatever her name is.
She's Asian.
However, she never
doesn't
talks.
Really talk, yeah.
She has basically nothing to do with the story. She's a background.
She's another warden.
And
she's a young green.
To be fair,
warden.
I do appreciate that Jim is adding some more color, which is definitely needed. But, it's been added to a background character, which, yes, don't just paint all the background characters white. Have a mix there, too. But that doesn't prevent there. And this one is another one of those, like, Dresden Files is kind of hard because a lot of it, same with Sabriel, the first book, it's a lot of solo work.
It is.
And we don't get too many characters. We have a lot of characters, and yeah, they could be more diverse, but so this one definitely fails those tests as well. So I said it did better. It passed one test? Maybe, arguably, possibly. I say yes, she says no. So there's that. But it is adding stuff. Again, we talked about Ramirez, which is you don't want to add color to your book by just adding a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
But since he's doing the stereotype in a tongue-in-cheek way, I go back to, if you think about Speedy Gonzales.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of white people thought that was racist. Because it kind of is. But, and there was a lot of petition to remove or change Speedy Gonzales because it was too racist. But it was actually a somewhat Mexican image on TV, in cartoon, somebody who's a good, a hero. And Mexicans loved him. And it's like, you don't want, as a white person, to white knight, is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Where you get upset on somebody's behalf when they're not upset, or you push it too far trying to defend someone else and making other people think lower of that other people.
You're just actually making it worse.
So it is kind of a hard thing to get around. Oh no, boo-hoo, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Ramirez, if he is at all borderline, it's borderline between being just a really good character and being a good icon. But I feel like he's actually a good character. And we do get more with him later on.
Mm-hmm. I beg your pardon, I'm actually texting one of our viewers.
Oh. So, those are tests. Yeah, I thought it did better, but it didn't. It's done better than past Dresden File books.
Oh yeah, here on out it gets really fun. What's the next one?
I don't know.
Oh.
That's one of the things I was supposed to look. I was gathering all the things. This is Deadbeat. Proven Guilty is the next one.
I have no idea what happens in that book.
Yeah. oh, we do get an interesting thing in this book, but I won't mention it till later because it's one of those small details that will get picked up later, and you're like, oh, so I'm gonna leave that.
Yeah, like I've said, Butcher's continuity with this series is
it's really
quite
good.
faboo. I mean, even in Harry Potter, you get inconsistencies. Like in the first book, Vernon Dursley was blonde, and in the second book, he has black hair. It's like, oh, that's wrong. It's like, but the first book said it had different hair. Yeah. But that's just a tiny little thing. But yeah, the consistency and the little things, like you say, oh, a little mention of this, ooh, this little thing happened.
The foreshadowing is done extremely well.
The foreshadowing is excellent.
His switching out of characters is also done really well. You don't just get stuck on like one set of characters and forget the other characters existed that I can remember. Like there was one, I don't know whether it was a show or a book and I can't remember now. But yeah, there was a character who was like in the first whatever and then never appeared again. You never thought about it until you go back and you're like, oh yeah, whatever happened to this person?
That person existed.
But yeah, Butcher does a really good job of switching out. We don't have Michael and the Knights of the Cross, but we have mention of them because Harry is avoiding them. And then kind of wants them to come, but they don't.
But Butters comes with Mouse, and that's just as good.
Yes.
And it should be pointed out that Mouse was the one that actually killed the dude.
Yeah.
Killed Liver Spots. But Harry told him to do it. And we do get his dying curse, or his death curse, because he is a magic. Yeah, die alone. And it's kind of like, knowing what we know now, having read all the way up to Skin Games, it's kind of like...
But, like his father said in a follow-up dream, everyone dies alone.
Yeah.
So in theory, that's kind of a non-curse.
Yeah,
which
so
is best,
We'll see. So, next week, I do believe we are going to
We're going to do One Piece. We're completely off schedule now. Like, we were at the end of my schedule that I put together. We were talking about doing Alita next, and we still haven't ordered those books, so maybe the week after, I don't know. Maybe we'll do a Myth the week after. We don't know right now, unfortunately, because we like to do 2 weeks in advance.
And I'm having difficulty figuring out where we are. The last thing I have documented is Sanji's arc, but I swear we've done Nami's.
Yeah, we did. We did Arlong's arc.
Okay, we've done Arlong Park. Good. So we need to read through what's next. Log Town?
This is next. Okay, so actually it's like that, which is a little better.
And what is it?
Less than 4 books. So what we have here, it's easier if I just look up my list. Looking up stuff is the best. Okay.
It's Log Town.
So moving forward, we're going to try and keep One Piece arcs to about around 30 chapters each episode. That's our goal. The past 2 episodes we did both had 27 chapters. So that kind of gives you rough estimate. Because there's a lot of things happening, we have the Logtown arc, Reverse Mountain arc, Whiskey Peak arc, and Little Garden arc, all with only 34 chapters.
Each or within?
All of those combined are 34 chapters.
And that's what we're going to read all the way up to Little Garden?
All the way through Little Garden. After that is Drum Island. That's 25 chapters, and there's no... Little Garden is big enough that it cannot be included with Drum Island. So, again, if we keep about 30 chapters...
I think that's fine. We're going to be covering a lot, but really only a select few things of real interest will happen.
In each, yeah.
And
really, Little Garden is the biggest arc of that. Logtown has a bit going on, and we couldn't continue after. We couldn't do Arlong Park and Logtown.
That was too
Arlong Park needed to be its own thing.
Yeah, because all the things.
And Little Garden and Drum Island combined would be way too many chapters.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the best option.
So if you're not reading the manga, do know that One Piece is both dubbed and subbed on Hulu. You can also find it on Crunchyroll as well.
We are not sponsored by
We're not sponsored by either of them, but if you're not,
they want to, no.
Right, but I mean, you know,
so
if you don't have time,
if you're watching the episodes, in the anime, there's 2 episodes that cover Buggy's side story.
Which is fun.
Buggy,
you know, you can't not like Buggy.
We have the Logtown arc, and then there's the Warship Island arc, which is an anime only. I find it really boring, and when I watch the anime, I skip it.
You can skip it. You can skip it. There's no character development. There's no adding of a crewmate. They don't gain anything from it. And it doesn't relate to anything going on.
And one of the big jokes about it is one of the guys tells a story that just lasts all night long, and all the characters are bored. But the problem is when your characters are bored, your readers have a good chance of being bored too.
Yeah, or your watchers. Yeah.
And I'm also, I also kind of get bored of that arc. It's just not enough.
It's not
for
like
me.
The last
and
time.
And it also causes continuity errors later.
A little bit.
So skip those. That's episodes 54, 61.
You can skip
them. Then we have Reverse Mountain Arc.
Reverse Mountain Arc, that's important. We get onto the red line, or the Grand Line. We get to the Grand Line. Woo!
And then
we
Whiskey
hit a slight roadblock.
Peak Arc.
Where we hit a slight roadblock.
And there's a little 2-episode side story in the anime, Kobe and Helmeppo's side story. If you're watching the anime, watch that. I don't know if it's included. I think it is.
I think it's like the cover pages.
It's the cover pages in these. So we'll talk about it, whether or not how much of it is in the books, because I'm going to watch the anime. I'm going to read and watch the anime.
There are differences. There will be additions in the anime. Besides that, like in Logtown, we're going to get a bunch of like individual stories of each crew member. In this one, we're just going to touch on kind of the important things. Like, for instance, if you remember back in Arlong Park, Zoro actually broke 2 of his swords. So when he goes to Logtown, he needs new swords. So him getting the swords is kind of a significant thing. Not the least which because he gets the money from Nami, and so he's going to have to owe her, and that in of itself is, fun times. Yeah. Because, well, it's Nami.
So if you are watching the anime, it is going to be about 26 episodes.
But they're only about 20 minutes each.
Right. But it's basically a full anime season. And that's skipping Warship Island.
Ooh, it is. And we're only going to do it in a week.
I know. So get watching. Or read the manga.
Or read the manga. And, we're not going to say where you can, but you can go online and find the manga somewhere. But
or go to a library, because One Piece, or with manga, especially shonen manga, One Piece, right now, One Piece, Naruto, and I don't know if Bleach is still up there. It might have fallen off by now. But those were the big 3 that's lasted for a long time. So
they're still ongoing.
If your library has manga, which granted not all of them do, but if it does, it probably has One Piece.
It should have One Piece. Beyond... To give you some idea, and this was a few years ago, but it might still be true, the top, how we have our top 10 bestsellers, the New York Times top 10 bestsellers list, Japan has the same thing. Now, they have a bit more of a variety because manga is obviously going to be different from other literature.
And there's lots of different genres of manga that you can't really combine them. But
the top 5 selling manga pretty consistently in Japan is the newest One Piece manga, the one before that, the one before that, and the one before that, and the one before that.
And then, like...
Maybe the
Dragon Ball is in there somewhere.
Yeah, and then Dragon Ball
of Dragon Ball, one of Naruto.
Maybe, but I remember at one point we were looking at it, and yes, this was years and years ago, but that was what it was. It was like the best-selling manga, the top 5 best-selling manga in all of Japan was One Piece number 78, One Piece number 77, 76, 75, 74. Those were the top 5.
And then, just as a preview for her, this is the last page we're reading. So that's the...
that's the last page before...
Yep.
No, but that's the last page before we get to...
Drum Island. Which is... We're not going to Drum Island next episode.
What?
So this is the cliffhanger we're going to end on.
Well, sucks for you. We know what happens!
So there's that. So yes, join us next week. Oh, we also need to talk about how much we actually got quite a lot done.
I got like actually 3 rounds in because you know it's a hat, it's small. So.
And unfortunately, Mom had to pull out some stitches.
Oh, I hate that.
Or rip out some stitches, so it looks pretty much like it did in her post. So it pretty much looks like that.
Let me tell you, this friggin' pattern. Okay, and this is because I kept reading the pattern incorrectly. I took this thing out, not once, not twice, but 3 times.
This one?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Because I kept getting the friggin' count wrong. Well, not the count. Like, I had... It's 100 stitches all the way around, and it's 25 on each needle, you know, as you can see. But I kept reading the pattern incorrectly because it would say, you know, purl 2, knit 2, and repeat this 5 more times. I kept missing the more part, and I would only do it 5 times, and it wouldn't friggin' line up. I'd get all the way up to here, and I'd get to the cables, and I go, it's not lining up. 3 times. I take it out.
How many times did?
3 times.
Because you've made this hat for me for...
Yes, so this will be the 3rd time I've actually made this hat. And yeah, it'll be...
And you're still ripping out 3 times the hat.
Well, it's stupid. I don't know why. I don't know why my eye always glances over the more. It's like, I just wish for some reason it said 6 total times. Like, do this 6 times, or 6 total times, or something. I'm just like, the more, for whatever reason, I always misread. But anyway... I will finish this before Friday, because Friday is my brother's birthday, and I will get it done. It won't take me long. I'll probably finish it tonight, to be honest.
Alright, so, One Piece. Watch and or read it.
Read or watch, yep, lots of fun. If you're keeping up with Dresden, next one is, you said, Proven Guilty.
Proven Guilty, which we don't know what happens in it, because
I can't remember.
At this point... Like, up until this point, you can kind of remember what's going on in each book, but after this, it gets kind of fast and exciting read that it feels like one big omnibus.
The only one that kind of, like, sticks out, for me at least, well, the 2 is Ghost Story, because the cover's white, and all the other ones are black. You can see this is kind of a black.
Most of the others are black.
Yeah, and then Cold Days, because that one immediately follows Ghost Story. So those 2, yeah. I know what happens in those 2, and I know what happens in the one right before. I know what happens in Changes, but I can't really remember.
I don't remember what happens in that one, but I remember...
Yeah. You remember what happened in Changes. Anyways. But so anyway, yeah, from here on in, I will remember Skin Game beautifully, or not Skin Game. Yes, Skin Game. Peace Talks is the one that we're waiting on, number 16. Jim. Yes. What up, man?
Well, we're on book 7 of...
At the moment,
15. And it's taken us about a year to get here. So he has another year. He's also putting out, like, another book of short stories that we haven't picked up yet.
I don't want the short stories, Jim. I want freaking Peace Talks. There are things that need to be discussed by characters.
Anyways, so join us next week for tea time.
Yes, and we will discuss the awesomeness that is One Piece.
Yes.
As always.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time.
How do I stop this?
I don't know.
Oh, wait. I got it.
EIT, yeah.